Okay, Pete here with the Small Business Resource Center and the Small Business Resource Center YouTube channel with a great update. The House Democrats released the new HEROES Act yesterday. So all the details were released this morning. It's from Committee Chairwoman Nita M. Lowey, and they do have a lot of co-sponsors. So this is gaining a lot of traction very quickly, because it is scaled back from the original $3.4 trillion HEROES Act. It's a $2.2 trillion bill. And the House or the Senate Republicans had a $2.2 trillion bill. It did start at 1.5 with a 2.2 trillion total increase. What this includes is $1,200 per taxpayer, not just citizens like in the past, adult dependents or people that did not have Social Security numbers, did not qualify. Now they do, and there's additional $500 per dependent. They also want to extend unemployment and pandemic unemployment assistance with the same benefits they currently have. So instead of scaling it back, they want to have $600 per week additional until 2021. They also want to have housing assistance specifically for rural renters, $309 million, also $4 billion to renter assistance agencies. This would include temporary vouchers to keep people who are renting and having problems in homes. $500 billion for low-income renters for eviction protection. $500 million for seniors. $750 million for housing projects. $45 million for disabled, and $5 billion in grant money for people at risk of homelessness or at risk of being homeless. $21 billion for homeowners and related cost. This is expected to include home improvement and forbearance programs. So they want to change the forbearance program so it's not just for having a 3 or 6 months forbearance and then getting stuck with a lump sum payment you can't afford to pay, but it'll also say that the forbearance is not due to the end of the term, so that's good. If they change that program, it doesn't go against your credit, and if you do qualify, I almost think it would be a mistake for you not to take a program like that. Main reason is because if it's not going against your credit and you don't have to pay it now, whenever you sell or if you pay off the loan, that's when that forbearance will be due. So if they do pass this, that would be a great program. I would probably recommend taking it up. More than likely I may also. For state and local governments, $436 billion. That includes $238 billion for the state, $179 for local, $9.5 for tribal regions, and $9.5 billion for territories of the United States. Then there's $1 billion for community development. The FDA would get $1.5 million for a special meeting for the coronavirus. Not exactly sure what's going on at that meeting, but it sounds pretty exciting for a $1.5 million meeting. Census would get $10 billion for COVID-related expenses. I kind of thought the census was over, so I'm kind of questioning that. And $400 million for delays in the census. So I'm not exactly sure what all those expenses are for, because I had saw articles online saying the census was complete. U.S. Patent and Trademark Office would get $95 million. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, $392 million. I'm not sure what they're doing with the money or why they need it, but that's what it says. Federal prisons would get $620 million to help with the coronavirus related problems. Violence against women would get $375 million. Second chance grant for ex-prisoners, $250 million. That's probably a really good thing. Keep in mind, I really don't put it in this channel, but I know I've made videos on it, or maybe I did put it and don't realize, but I think the criminal justice system in America is broken. If you look at other places, they try to reform prisoners, they don't just incarcerate them. And I feel in America, if you look at the prison system or talk to people in prison, they don't seem like they try to reform people when they're in prison. It's just a terrible place to be, and it doesn't seem like it offers a lot of help when people get out. And that's my opinion. I think I'm right. If you talk to other people who've been in prison and recently got out, they probably would feel the same way. Very little assistance. Pandemic Response Act to help with coronavirus in jails is $600 million and $100 million for Legal Service Corporation. Election security is $3.6 billion. And then FEMA would get $1.3 billion for coronavirus aid programs. Health and Human Services, $249 billion for coronavirus-related research. CDC is getting $13.7 billion. They also would like to form a nurse strike team that would mobilize in areas where the coronavirus is spiking, and that would be $500 million. $128.4 billion for families and assistance programs for families. Second round of PPP with additional requirements that would limit large businesses and help promote getting the PPP program to smaller businesses. This includes nonprofits. Targeted assistance to restaurants and independent contractors. I'll go over more on that. I did get notes from a lot of different places. Airlines would get $45.55 billion in assistance. That would go to airlines and the restaurants and also to help pay payroll. Amtrak would get $2.4 billion, and essential workers would get funding so they don't need to be laid off. That would be part of all these packages. $75 billion for testing, tracing, hospitals, treatment of coronavirus. Money for SNAP, Women in Crisis or WIC, and farmers. And some of the financial aid for them also could now be used for hot foods. In the past, it's supposed to be groceries only. Health insurance for people that lost insurance due to work. So they're going to have extended programs that if you are not working and you have insurance, you'll be able to get insurance. $225 billion for schools and university. $12 billion for broadband access. That's going to be testing, mapping areas, and also, I guess, providing broadband to a lot of different areas. I understand that if you're in America, you probably may not know, or maybe you do. There's actually still a lot of areas that don't have broadband service or very good cell phone reception, especially if you're in the mountains or in the country. So it's kind of one of those things people don't realize that because most people live in cities or urban communities. But in the country, in some areas, you don't have cell phone reception and you do not have broadband. $120 billion money for grants and restaurants. $1.5 billion salaries for childcare, lodges, operations affected by COVID-19. $50 billion grants for small businesses, $3 billion for minority-owned businesses, but what we don't see in here is EIDL grant money. So it doesn't seem like, even though they're expanding the program, it doesn't seem like there's more money for the EIDL grant. But if you saw the petition, I'll put the link in the description, and we do have a petition for S4227. That's to get the EIDL grant to everybody. And I actually think they do have funding because they had, I think, $300 billion in unused funds, or excuse me, million. So they do have money available. They're just not spending it. Main Street Lending Program for small businesses will be expanded. Workplace safety for infection control will be based on CDC guidelines. So they were going to expand that and try to make sure people are following CDC guidelines. Tax credits to employees to keep people on payroll. They also want to suspend federal student aid to September 30th, 2021 with no interest accrued. That means even your payments would be deferred for about a year and you will get no additional interest during that time. And even though they're calling this a new HEROES Act, there's $15 billion for the post office was what they were proposing before. And with that, basically, there's nothing for what a lot of people would consider heroes. That would be frontline workers. So I'm just putting it out there, letting you know what the news is. There's also safe banking for cannabis businesses and insurance, which this should have been in a long time ago. This has been a debate. They have legal cannabis businesses. Those businesses pay taxes and operate in legal manner. Federally, they're considered illegal, even though they're mandated by states and paying their state and federal local taxes. So they're not able to access most major banks and insurances. Well, this Safe Banking Act, which it was proposed years ago, is supposed to allow them to do it. Keep in mind, in my opinion, it's stupid that they're not, because if you're allowing them to operate legal businesses, why are you not allowing them to use banking services that everyone uses? When they're not using these banking services, it promotes crime, because of course now if you're operating a business, you have a lot of money in cash for some of these businesses, which can make them a target for crime, just like if they were illegal drug dealers. So that's probably something that's necessary with or without, this legislation. But this is a $2.2 trillion new HEROES Act. So looks like they have, in my opinion, a compromise. I'm hoping this goes somewhere, but I know as far as everything's concerned, it may negotiate a little bit. So you got to keep in mind they started with 3.4 in the HEROES Act. Republicans negotiated recently to 1.5 million with a $2.2 trillion total increase, and this is a $2.2 trillion bill. I know they're not exactly the same, but it's a pretty close compromise. So I'm expecting, like a lot of the legislators were saying, that something should happen positively very soon. Any questions? Comment below. Look out for any updates. This is Pete with the Small Business Resource Center. Smash a like button for the algorithm. It really helps me out. And subscribe if you're new. If you are here from before, welcome back and have a great day.